Hi everyone, it's Jessica Foley, psychotherapy for women seeking growth and positive change out here in Waltham and Boston, Massachusetts. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that I am super familiar with, imposter syndrome. I see a lot of clients that tell me about their imposter syndrome, and I just wanted to offer some explanation and also some things that you can do to try and help. So, imposter syndrome, every single person has it. It's a human condition. It's a trait everyone has. So, I think we see people on Instagram or, on social media and sort of think, oh, that person, so brave. How do they do what they're doing? I'm telling you that they also have imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome sort of feels like when you go to an important meeting, let's say for work, and you're presenting, and suddenly you have this sense come over you that it's only a matter of time before people figure out I have no idea what I'm talking about. And that can prevent us from kind of moving forward in life. Some of the things that imposter syndrome causes are avoiding extra responsibilities, kind of like turning things down because you're like, you know what, I'm probably not the best person for that. And if you talk to any of my friends, they will probably tell you I say things like that sometimes. You can also get caught up in this imposter cycle where you're just sort of constantly feeling this way and kind of can't get out of it. Sometimes you will chalk your wins up to something else, Roberta did a great job setting me up for success, rather than really owning, you know what, I kind of did kick ass out there and I worked really hard for it. So thanks. Imposter syndrome can also, let you self-sabotage. So that's really kind of bringing yourself down, making decisions that aren't in your own best interest, and maybe even things that could be harmful, because you are not feeling yourself. Also, people who suffer from imposter syndrome, especially in the workplace, especially women, it can really prevent you from asking for a raise, asking for a promotion, kind of going in there and getting what you need. And the other thing that imposter syndrome does is cause us to sometimes overschedule. So we're going to compensate for all of those feelings of being a fraud by doing everything all the time. Volunteering, I'll do it. I'll do that project. I'll work on that. I can get that done by tomorrow. And sort of really overcompensating. So there is a doctor out there, Dr. Valerie Young. She came up with several different types of imposter syndrome and what it sort of looks like for each type. And I want to tell you about that next. So Dr. Valerie Young came up with several different types of the fraud syndrome styles. And I'm going to talk about those now and a little bit about what we can do about it. And sort of how it manifests for each type. So these probably are not, you're just one thing. You might see yourself in several of these types and be, kind of across the board, a little bit of each of these, and that is okay too. So the first one is the expert, and this is the person that needs to know everything and research it to death before they make a move. So I'm kind of reminded of my parents with the Consumer Reports. If I wanted something, we needed to research the F out of it, forever before I could actually get the item. I'm over it now. But anyway, this is someone who maybe isn't even going to finish the task because they need to know everything and be the expert on it before they can actually get it done. And so sometimes you gotta just leap and know that it's okay to fail. Another type is the perfectionist. This is someone who has really high anxiety, high doubt in themselves, and they may not even start a task because if they don't feel like they can do it perfectly, they are not going to do it at all. And it can also really prevent you from, learning new things, because sometimes failing is how we learn. The natural genius is what she calls the next one. And that's someone who like new things come super easy to them. They pick up a task like that. They're able to master something quickly, but there's going to be a time, as there's a time for all of us, where that doesn't happen. So when that happens, this person, this natural genius, gets super frustrated and sometimes can even give up. Because this skill is not coming to them as quickly as they thought it would. I see this a lot with people who start new jobs, perhaps. They want to be, on it right away. They're usually really great at this stuff, but they're learning a whole new system. So it can take 6 to 9 months before you feel fully comfortable. Another type that Dr. Young identified is the soloist. So this is someone who is going to maybe be offered help by coworkers or their community, and they're like, you know what? No, I got it. I'm totally fine. I can do it myself. I got it all. I, am going to prove myself by doing this thing. And so in that effort, they sometimes fail. And then the last one is the superhero, and that type usually overloads themselves. This is like kind of more classic workaholic. They're going to be there super early. They're going to stay super late. They're going to take on every project and raise their hand a lot. And, that can also be a little bit of a fraud syndrome kind of coming through. So what do we do about this? What do we do about everyone feeling like they don't know what they're doing? The first thing that I think is super helpful is just to know that that's part of being a person, that every single person feels that way at one point or another. I think understanding that it's sort of like a universal thing can really help alleviate some of the isolation that comes with feeling like a fraud. The other thing you can do is talk about it. Just tell your friends, tell a coworker that you trust. Maybe even talk to your boss about it. I think it's something that is really important because otherwise as we talked about, you could really be limiting yourself in what you're able to accomplish. Another thing you can do that's kind of sounds like a simple thing, but can actually be sort of tough, especially for women, is take a compliment and toot your own horn. So if you did something well, talk about it. That is not bragging. That is like accepting that you did a good job. If someone gives you a compliment, take it, say thank you, and that's it. So I think that's a tough one as women. We're sort of trained to defer and not accept a lot of credit for things. And, this is sort of the opposite. And finally, knowing perfectionism is impossible. We cannot do it perfectly. And that isn't always the goal. The goal isn't to be perfect. And if you want to learn more about this type of fraud syndrome and like dealing with it on a daily basis, check out Brene Brown's video, her TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability. It talks a lot kind of around this subject, but I think it will be useful because really when we are our true authentic selves and very vulnerable, we are dropping this facade and allowing that sense of like, I'm a fraud to be seen. And I think when we do that, that's how we're able to grow and get some help. And the last thing I'll tell you is, I think therapy can really help with this. I talk with women about it all the time in my office. It's something that as a human being, I've experienced myself. So I have some experience with it. And, I think there is some thought changes that we can do around, really what you think of yourself, how you arrived at that conclusion, and what sort of new story we can tell ourselves about you, so that you can overcome some of these challenges. And, I also think the goal is it's not that you're never going to feel like a fraud again. It's just that you're going to be like, oh, I know what to do with this. I've seen this feeling before. I've got some skills and strategies around this. I'm good. So that's it for today. If you want to learn more, you can check out my website at www.jessicafoley.com. And if you want to become a client, I am taking new online clients. in Massachusetts, California, and Arizona. And I do have some daytime spots available for in-person clients as well. And I'll talk to you next time. It's good to be back doing some of these videos again. I have been absent for a super long time. My apologies. It's nice to be here again. All right. Thanks so much. See you soon. Bye.